What if I told you that true love, pure, unconditional love, wasn't just about the perfect moments? What if it was about the promises you make when everything falls apart, when life tests you in ways you never imagined? This isn't just a love story, it's a journey of unwavering commitment through the hardest trials, where a promise made once in a lifetime becomes a promise kept forever and always. Meet Xander and Sophia, a couple whose love story seemed perfect at first. On the surface, they had everything: careers, a beautiful home, and a picture-perfect family. To the outside world, they were the epitome of success. But behind their dream life, something was shifting, something they couldn't ignore. It wasn't a single moment that sparked the change, it was the weight of everyday challenges, the quiet tension that built between them, pushing their relationship to the edge. What happens when a promise to love through thick and thin is tested by life's hardest trials? This is their story, a story of love, commitment, sacrifice, and the strength to keep going even when everything seems uncertain. It's a reminder that love isn't about perfection, but about the will to choose each other, again and again, no matter what. As we reflect on this real-life story, subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more daily stories that need to be heard. Hit that subscribe button. And let us hear from you in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's continue. Xander Thompson and Sophia Brown had it all. Xander was a successful businessman, driven, focused, and respected in his field. Sophia, a passionate artist with dreams of making a name for herself, brought a creative spark to everything she touched. Their connection was immediate, their bond deep from the start. It was one of those relationships that felt meant to be, as if the universe had brought them together for a reason. Their love was built on shared values, adventure, and a belief in the power of partnership. It wasn't long before Xander proposed, and they were married in a ceremony that was everything they had dreamed of. The wedding was nothing short of magical. Sophia in a flowing lace gown, Xander beaming as he held her hand beneath the bright summer sun. It felt like a fairy tale, a love story written for the ages. After their honeymoon, they dove headfirst into building a life together. Xander's business was taking off, and Sophia's art was beginning to gain attention. They were happy, or so it seemed. But as the days turned into months, the demands of their growing careers began to chip away at the bond they had once shared. Xander was often away, his business requiring more of his attention and time than he had anticipated. Sophia, now a mother to their twins, Emily and Jackson, found herself struggling to balance her art career with the needs of her family. The late nights, the constant juggling, the pressure, it started to take a toll. At first, it was small things. The empty chair across the dinner table, the quiet mornings when Xander was too exhausted to engage. The moments of connection they once shared seemed few and far between. But the cracks deepened over time, and neither of them knew how to fix it. They had always promised to be there for each other, to support, to care, to never let go. But the truth was, they were slowly drifting apart. As the twins grew, their lives were filled with school activities, soccer practices, and plays. Xander and Sophia found themselves in the middle of it all, trying to keep up with everything. They both loved their children fiercely, and it showed in the way they were involved in every aspect of their lives. But behind the scenes, things weren't as easy as they appeared. There were arguments over small things, over big things, misunderstandings, unspoken frustrations, and most painfully, a growing distance that neither one of them knew how to close. One evening, after a particularly stressful day, Xander sat in his office, staring at a stack of papers in front of him. The weight of his business troubles pressed down on him, and Sophia, though supportive, was clearly struggling. The pressure of it all had been overwhelming for both of them, and they were feeling it in ways they hadn't anticipated. As he sat there, lost in thought, a realization hit him hard. He had been so focused on his career and their future that he had lost sight of the most important thing: Sophia. He had promised to love her, to protect her, to never let her face the world alone. But at that moment, it felt like he had failed her. The thought shook him to his core. Could they come back from this? Could they rebuild the love they once had? That night, after the kids were asleep, Xander and Sophia sat together on the porch, the sound of the wind rustling the leaves around them. Neither of them knew what to say at first. There was a heavy silence, one that seemed to fill the space between them. Then, Xander turned to Sophia, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry," he said, his eyes searching hers for a sign that she understood. "I know I've been distant, and I've been so caught up in everything. I never meant to hurt you." Sophia looked at him, her heart aching. She had always known how much he cared for her, how much he wanted to be there. But somewhere along the way, they had both lost sight of what mattered most: their connection, their commitment to each other. She had her own regrets, too. "I've been struggling, too," she replied softly. "I love you, Xander, but I feel so alone sometimes. I need you to be here, really here, not just physically but emotionally." At that moment, Xander realized how much he had taken her love for granted. They had both been so focused on their individual dreams, their careers, their responsibilities, that they had forgotten about the one thing that had always brought them together: each other. He knew it wasn't too late. He had made a promise, and he wasn't going to let it slip away. "I promise you I will do better. I will be here, for you and for us, forever and always." Sophia's eyes filled with tears as she took his hand. "I promise the same," she whispered. "Together we can get through anything. I believe in us." From that moment on, Xander and Sophia made a choice to rebuild, to fight for their love, and to keep their promises to each other, no matter the obstacles they faced. They knew that life would always throw challenges their way, but they were determined to face them together. They learned that love isn't always easy. It isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about choosing each other, day after day, through the highs and the lows. It's about showing up, even when the world seems like it's falling apart. It's about holding on, even when it feels like letting go might be easier. Over time, their relationship deepened. They learned how to communicate, to lean on each other, and to never take their love for granted again. As the years passed, their family grew stronger, and their bond grew deeper. They traveled together, explored the world, and shared experiences that only brought them closer. Their love was no longer just about romantic gestures or fleeting moments. It had become a partnership, a commitment, a promise that was never broken. I do hope you have subscribed already, as it is about to get really interesting. Xander and Sophia's love story is a reminder that even in the face of life's challenges, love can endure. It's a journey, a beautiful, imperfect, and sometimes painful journey, but one that's worth every step. And so, as they grew older and their children grew up, Xander and Sophia continued to hold hands, their love as steadfast as ever. Their story became one of hope, of resilience, and of the unwavering belief that true love doesn't end with a happily ever after. It's built through a lifetime of keeping promises, choosing each other, forever and always. It all started at a charity gala in New York City. Xander Thompson, a driven and successful businessman, had spent years building his empire, and his career was thriving. Sophia Elizabeth Brown, a passionate and creative artist, was gaining recognition for her work, her talent celebrated in circles that appreciated art's true beauty. Their worlds collided one fateful night, when their eyes met across the room, and for that brief moment, time seemed to stop. There was an undeniable spark between them, as if they had known each other for years, even though they were meeting for the first time. Their connection was instant and intense, and their conversation flowed effortlessly. It felt as though fate had already written their story, long before they'd even stepped into the ballroom that night. Their love blossomed quickly, uncomplicated, genuine, and full of promise. They both believed in the power of love and adventure, shared the same dreams of creating something bigger together. Whether they were traveling to exotic destinations or spending quiet nights at home, their bond seemed unbreakable. It felt like they could conquer the world, side by side, with nothing standing in their way. But like any great love story, things were never as simple as they appeared. After a whirlwind romance, a breathtaking proposal in the Serengeti, where Xander had asked Sophia to be his forever under the golden African skies. Their journey together seemed like it was destined to be perfect. Their wedding was a dream come true, a beautiful ceremony by the ocean. Their vows whispered between the gentle crash of waves. It felt like the beginning of a lifetime of happiness. But beneath the surface, there was something neither of them could have prepared for. The life they had built together would soon face challenges they hadn't anticipated. It wasn't just the pressures of work or the demands of daily life. It was something deeper, something that would test their commitment, their love, and everything they believed in. The trials ahead were ones they had never imagined, and soon they would face the hardest decisions of their lives. As they started their life together, they believed love was all they needed. Their passion for each other, their shared dreams, and their mutual respect were everything. They leaned on each other for support and strength, finding comfort in the promise they had made to always be there. But life, as it always does, had different plans. The storms that came silent at first, then growing stronger, would test their bond in ways neither of them was ready for. Could their love survive these storms, these uncharted waters? Or would the pressures of their careers, the responsibilities of family, and the strains of everyday life pull them apart? What would happen when the promise of forever was put to the ultimate test? A year into their marriage, the unthinkable happened. What had been a life full of joy and adventure suddenly became a battleground of competing priorities. Sophia, after giving birth to their adorable twins, Emily and Jackson, was struggling to find a sense of balance. Motherhood was everything she had dreamed of and more, but the demands it placed on her were relentless. She was trying to nurture her children, support Xander, and still keep up with her art career, which was blossoming into something bigger than she had ever imagined. The pressure began to mount, and the exhaustion she felt was overwhelming. Meanwhile, Xander, who had always been the strong, steady figure in their relationship, was facing his own set of challenges. His business, once thriving, started to face financial difficulties. What had once been a source of pride now seemed like an ever-growing weight around his neck. The long hours, the endless meetings, the sleepless nights, all of it began to take its toll on him. And as the strain of his career increased, so did the distance between him and Sophia. The man who had once been her rock was now lost in his own struggles, and the gap between them grew wider with each passing day. The result was something neither of them could have foreseen. The once perfect love they had built began to crack under the pressure. They had always promised each other that they would be a team, that no matter what, they would face the world together. But now, it felt as though they were slowly drifting in opposite directions. Sophia, exhausted and overwhelmed, found herself feeling isolated, unsure of how to navigate this new reality. Xander, consumed by his own financial burdens, couldn't find the energy to be there for her in the way he once had. They were both drowning, and neither knew how to save the other. Every day felt like a new challenge. Their once lively conversations became strained, filled with silence instead of shared dreams. The connection that had been so effortless at the beginning of their marriage now felt like a distant memory. Sophia longed for the days when she and Xander could talk for hours without worrying about the pressures of work or the weight of their responsibilities. But now, even their simplest conversations seemed fraught with tension, leaving her feeling unheard and invisible. As the days passed, the cracks in their seemingly perfect life grew wider. The twins, still too young to fully understand, needed their parents to be united, to show them what a loving, strong family looked like. But with each passing moment, Xander seemed to pull away further, consumed by the weight of his financial worries. Sophia, on the other hand, was battling her own feelings of guilt. She felt guilty for not being able to juggle it all, guilty for not being the wife and mother she thought she should be. She felt like she was failing in every aspect of her life. Both of them wondered, could love really conquer all? Or was this the beginning of the end? They had promised each other forever, but now, in the face of these insurmountable challenges, they weren't sure they could keep that promise. They had never imagined their love would be tested like this. Would they be able to find their way back to each other? Or would the weight of life's burdens push them too far apart? The answer, they would soon discover, was something neither of them could have predicted. One night, after yet another heated argument about finances and time management, Xander left the house. He didn't say much as he grabbed his jacket and walked out the door, his mind a whirlwind of frustration and confusion. He needed time to clear his head and figure out where everything had gone wrong. For the first time in their marriage, it felt like they were drifting apart. The connection that had once been so effortless now seemed fragile, threatened by the weight of their growing burdens. The tension between them was so thick, it felt like it could suffocate the air around them. Xander drove aimlessly, trying to escape the thoughts that haunted him. As he sat alone in his car, staring out at the quiet streets, the weight of their vows hit him. For better or worse, through thick and thin, he had promised her. He had stood before their friends and family, made a lifelong commitment to stand by her no matter what life threw their way. But now, in the silence of his car, he wondered, was he truly living up to those promises? Was he the man she needed him to be? And more importantly, did he still believe in the vows he had made? Meanwhile, back at home, Sophia sat in the quiet of their living room, feeling more alone than ever. The house, once filled with laughter and warmth, now felt empty. She had spent the night pacing, trying to sort through her own emotions, but the weight of everything, the kids, her art career, Xander's struggles, felt suffocating. She had always believed that love would be enough, that if they stuck together they could weather any storm. But now doubt was creeping in. Could they really make it through this? Could their love survive when it felt like everything else was falling apart? Their close friends, including Sophia's childhood friend Laura, had started to notice the change too. Laura, who had always been a confidant for Sophia, saw the distance growing between the couple. She could sense the tension whenever they were together, the silence that lingered after every conversation, the way they seemed to be living in separate worlds. Laura had tried to talk to Sophia, offering advice, a listening ear, anything to help her friend navigate the storm she was facing. But as much as they tried to help, there was nothing anyone could do. Only Xander and Sophia had the power to heal their fractured love. The next morning, Xander returned home, his heart heavy with regret. He wasn't sure what he expected when he walked through the door, but as soon as he saw Sophia sitting on the porch, tears in her eyes, it all became clear. There were no words at first, just the quiet of the morning, the soft rustling of the leaves in the breeze, and the overwhelming silence between them. But then, Xander walked over to her, his steps slow, his heart pounding in his chest. He sat beside her, and without a word, he took her hand in his. The warmth of her skin seemed to ignite something inside him, a flicker of the love they had shared all those years. And in that moment, everything he had been holding inside came pouring out. "Sophia," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "I know I've been distant. I know I've been consumed by everything happening with the business, and I haven't been the husband you deserve. But I promise you this, I will fight for us, for this family. I will fight to make things right, no matter what, and I will never stop loving you, forever and always." Sophia looked up at him, her eyes filled with both relief and sorrow. She had heard these words before, but this time something was different. She could see in his eyes that he was ready to make things right. She had felt alone for so long, but now, sitting there with him, she could feel the warmth of his hand in hers, the promise of something more. She had to believe that they could still make it through, that love, true love, could still save them. For the first time in months, they sat there in silence, not out of tension, but out of something deeper, a shared understanding that they weren't giving up, that no matter what, they would find a way back to each other. Their journey wasn't over yet, and neither of them was ready to let go. Please, my lovely family, remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you won't ever miss the next thrilling story coming up next. Just as they began to heal, just when they thought the worst was behind them, life threw yet another curveball their way. Xander's business, despite his relentless efforts to revive it, was teetering on the edge of collapse. The once thriving company had fallen victim to market changes and poor timing, and it was clear now that if something didn't change soon, it would be gone. Just when Xander thought there was no hope left, he received an unexpected offer deal to take over a lucrative company in London. The move would not only save his career but could make him millions of dollars, restoring his financial security and reputation. It was the kind of opportunity most entrepreneurs would dream of, and in some ways, it felt like his moment of redemption. But as tempting as it was, it came with an immense cost. The deal would require him to relocate to London immediately, meaning he would have to leave Sophia and their twins behind. The choice wasn't just a business decision, it was a test of everything he believed in. Was the pursuit of success worth sacrificing his family? Could he trade his time and energy with the people he loved most for wealth and status? It was a decision that haunted him, making him question what truly mattered in his life. Was this the legacy he wanted to leave behind? As if fate had decided to test them both, Sophia found herself facing a decision just as monumental. One day, she received a call that would change her life, an invitation to showcase her work in a prestigious art exhibition in Paris. It was the kind of opportunity every artist dreams of, the chance to be seen on an international stage, to have her work recognized by the world. For years, she had sacrificed so much to get to this point. Her art was her heart and soul, and this was her moment to truly make a name for herself. But as she stared at the invitation, the weight of it all began to sink in. The exhibition would require her to spend months in Paris away from Xander and the twins, away from the family they had worked so hard to build. The offer was a dream come true, but it was also a dream that came with a cost. Could she pursue her passion, knowing it would mean being separated from the very people she loved? Was it worth it to chase after a dream that could pull her away from her family? As the days passed, the tension in their home grew. Both Xander and Sophia were caught between the pull of their individual ambitions and the commitment they had made to each other and their family. They both understood the sacrifices the other was facing, but the reality was that both dreams, Xander's business offer and Sophia's art exhibition, would require them to choose between personal success and the life they had worked so hard to create together. They couldn't have both. Or could they? The nights grew long, and their conversations, once filled with laughter and lightheartedness, turned to quiet reflections on the future. They each knew something had to give, but neither knew what to do. One evening, as they sat on the porch together, the weight of the silence felt unbearable. The world outside seemed to fade, and all that mattered was the unspeakable tension between them. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of silence, Sophia turned to Xander, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I can't make this choice for you," she said, her eyes searching for him. "But you have to ask yourself what's truly worth it. Is it the fame, the money, or is it us? Because I won't chase a dream that costs me my family. I need to know, Xander, do you still want us?" Her words hung in the air, heavy and unspoken, as Xander stared at her, his heart racing. He had always been the one to make decisions, to take risks and chase opportunities. But this time, the question she asked him wasn't about business or success, it was about love. It was about their family, their life together, and the promise they had made to each other so long ago. Could he hold on to both his dreams and his family, or would he have to choose one over the other? The decision wasn't going to be easy, but one thing was certain. It would define their future. Would they find a way to make their dreams work together, or would the weight of ambition tear them apart? Xander sat there, his gaze drifting over the quiet, dimly lit living room. The weight of his decision pressed down on him like a ton of bricks, each thought and emotion swirling inside him. He thought of Sophia's bright smile, her unwavering support, her boundless love for him. He thought of their twins, Emily and Jackson, their laughter, their innocence, their need for both their parents to be there. He had worked so hard to build the life they shared, and in that moment, he realized that no amount of wealth or success could compare to the love and family they had. The dreams that had once seemed so important paled in comparison to the bond he shared with Sophia, the bond that had sustained them through all the trials life had thrown their way. His phone lay on the table, the offer from London still glowing on the screen. The deal was everything he had worked for, but in that instant, he knew deep down that it wasn't what mattered most. What mattered most was the love they had built, the family they had created, and the promise they had made to each other. He had promised to love her, to stand by her, through everything, through thick and thin. And now, he knew that the true test of his love was not in his career or in how much money he could make, but in his ability to choose her, to choose their family over everything else. Taking a deep breath, Xander picked up the phone and dialed the number for the company in London. His hands trembled slightly as he pressed the phone to his ear, and when the line clicked through, he spoke with quiet conviction. "Thank you for the offer, but I have to decline. My family needs me here. I'm not going to take this opportunity. I've realized that what matters most to me is the life I have with my wife and children. I've made my decision." He hung up the phone, the decision made. The relief that washed over him was immediate, but it was also accompanied by a profound sense of responsibility. He knew that the road ahead would not be easy. Rebuilding his business would take time, and their financial struggles were far from over. But the one thing he was certain of was that he was where he needed to be, with the people who mattered most to him. Later that evening, Xander and Sophia sat on the porch, the warm summer breeze brushing against their skin. The twins had just gone to bed, and the house was quiet, save for the sounds of distant crickets. Sophia looked over at Xander, her eyes filled with curiosity, though there was a hint of worry as well. She had known about the offer from London, and she had been waiting for him to make his choice. She had hoped, deep down, that he would choose their family, and now, as she looked at him, she knew he had made the right choice. Xander turned to her, his heart full of emotion. "Sophia," he began, his voice steady but filled with love, "I want you to know that I've made my decision. I'm staying. I choose you. I choose us. Forever and always." Sophia's breath caught in her throat as she reached for his hand, a wave of relief and love washing over her. She had feared that their love would be tested beyond repair, that the weight of their individual dreams would pull them apart. But here he was, choosing her, choosing their family. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were tears of joy. "I choose you too, Xander. I always have." In that moment, they both understood that love wasn't about the grand gestures or the picture-perfect moments. It was about the everyday decisions, the sacrifices, and the promises you made to each other, promises to stand by each other when times were tough, to fight for each other when the world tried to tear you apart. It was about choosing each other over and over again, even when life threw challenges their way. Over the next few months, Xander and Sophia worked side by side to rebuild their life. Xander focused on stabilizing his business, while Sophia put her heart into her art, finding ways to balance her passion with her role as a mother and wife. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments of doubt, but together they faced everything that came their way. Their love had been tested, and though it wasn't always perfect, it had endured. They learned that love wasn't about never facing challenges, it was about facing those challenges together side by side. And in the end, that commitment to each other, to their family, was what made their love stronger than ever. As the years went by, Xander and Sophia's love continued to grow. Their family expanded, with Emily and Jackson blossoming into young adults who carried with them the same values of love, commitment, and resilience that their parents had instilled in them. Xander's business slowly recovered, and Sophia's art flourished, though neither of them ever took success for granted. They knew that the real measure of success wasn't in what they achieved, but in how they had remained steadfast in their love for each other. One evening, as they sat together in their home, watching the sun set over the horizon, Xander turned to Sophia, his voice soft but filled with conviction. "I'm so grateful for you, for us, for everything we've been through and everything we've built together." Sophia smiled, her hand resting on his. "I feel the same way, Xander. You're my forever, and I choose you every day." They sat in silence, watching the colors of the sky change, knowing that no matter what came next, they would face it together. Their love was unwavering, a promise kept, forever and always. Do you believe that love can survive the toughest challenges? What do you think it takes to keep a promise, no matter what life throws your way? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about the power of unwavering commitment. If you were moved by this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another heartwarming story of love and perseverance. Want more stories of couples overcoming the odds and staying committed through thick and thin? Check out our other videos. Remember, true love is about choosing each other forever and always. As the years passed, Xander and Sophia's love continued to grow. They traveled the world, raised their children, and proved that commitment isn't just about words, it's about actions, sacrifice, and showing up for each other every single day. Their journey, a testament to the enduring power of love, stands as a reminder that the strongest bonds are formed not just in moments of happiness, but through trials, sacrifices, and a shared promise to love one another, forever and always. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We can't wait to share more heartfelt stories with you soon.